Hey guys, what's up? Hope everyone's having a great day. Okay, so today we're taking a look at the deposition of Kate James. Now we saw in the trial that Kate James was a little irritated. I'm assuming it was Amby Pants' team that irritated her. Amby Pants' team seemed to irritate all of the witnesses that were brought in for deposition. But let's just see who we got. It was done February 18th, 2022. Who do we got? We've got Camille, Jessica, Samuel, Stephanie, and Ben, and we have Kathleen Zellner. Kathleen Zellner made an appearance. And on behalf of Amby Pants, we have Rottenborn and Elaine McCafferty. Doesn't look like we have Lainey. Okay. And we have, on behalf of Kate James, we have Dylan and Stalwart Law. Okay, so Stalwart Law Firm. So it's just Dylan, just him, also present. So Amby Pants didn't show up for this one. I think she was busy. I think she got tired and busy. Okay, so these are all the exhibits. What do we got? They're just introducing themselves. Okay, so Rotten Hoochie started the examination. Said, "Good morning, Miss James. Can you please state your full name?" "Kate, my name is Catherine Alwell James." "What is your current address?" "I'm going to block that out. No one needs to know that." Question, "Have you ever been deposed before?" Kate, "Yes." "How many times?" Kate, "Once." "When was that?" Kate, "Approximately 20 years ago." "Was it in a matter unrelated to Amber Heard or Johnny Depp?" Kate, "It was a personal real estate issue." "What was the nature of that issue?" Kate, "It was a duplex I owned in San Francisco, and my husband at the time asked our friends to vacate so we could sell the home, but he didn't know he wasn't allowed to do that, and so they decided to sue." "So you were a defendant in that action?" Kate, "Yes." "How? I don't need specifics, but did it go to trial or did it settle out of court?" Kate, "The insurance company settled." "Now, you provided testimony in a case between Mr. Depp and a tabloid in the United Kingdom. Do you remember that?" Kate, "Yep." "And you provided that on behalf of Mr. Depp, correct?" Kate, "Yep." Camille, "Objection mischaracterizes the previous testimony." Rottenborn, "Okay, I'm going to move to lead the witness. I'm going to move to lead the witness, ask leading questions." Camille, "I understand that. I didn't object on leading, Mr. Rottenborn. I objected that it mischaracterizes her previous testimony that she testified on behalf of Mr. Depp." So Ms. James, intermittently, "I may be objecting to Rotten Hoochie's questions, and when I do the questioning, he will also be lodging objections, so it will be helpful if you could just give me 3 seconds, blah, blah, blah." Okay. Rottenborn, "What did you prepare for this deposition?" Kate, "Well, I reread my witness statement. I reread Amber's response to my witness statement. I had a conversation with my attorney, Dylan, about," her attorney's like, don't you dare. Don't you say what it was about. Kate, "Yeah, it was just a brief conversation, and that's it." Rotten Hoochie, I don't want to know anything about any conversations you had with Mr. Ruga, but other than rereading your witness statement and Ms. Heard's witness statement, when you say that, are you referring to the witness statement from the UK case?" Kate, "Yes." "And when I say the phrase UK case or UK litigation, we can agree that we're talking about the case between Mr. Depp and the Sun tabloid that you previously provided testimony in?" Kate, "Yep." "Did you review any other documents in preparation for the deposition today?" Kate, "Nope." "Did you speak with anyone other than your attorney about your deposition or the substance of it?" Kate, "No." "Have you spoken with Ms. Vasquez before today?" Kate, "Yep." "When?" Kate, "I don't recall." "What was the substance of that conversation?" Kate, "I don't recall." "Was it in the past month?" Kate, "No." "Was it in the past year?" Kate, "Yeah." "Did you talk about the case?" Kate, "No." "What did you talk about?" Kate, "I don't recall." Question, if you don't recall, how can you recall that you didn't discuss the case? Camille, objection, argumentative. Rottenborn, "You can answer." Kate, "We spoke about the fact that I would need to do a deposition. That's all I recall." "Have you spoken with Adam Waldman before?" Kate, "Yes." "When was the last time you spoke with him?" Kate, "I don't recall." "How many times have you spoken with him?" Kate, "I would say somewhere around 10 times total." "Have you spoken with him in 2022? Kate, "Yes." "And what was the substance of that conversation?" Kate, "Friendly banter." "About what?" Kate, nothing to do with the case at all. What was it about? Kate, we have gotten to know each other, and I was on vacation and said Happy New Year. That's it. Did you call him or did he call you? Kate, I didn't call him. Did you text him? Kate, I sent a message saying Happy New Year to a lot of my friends. Over text? Kate, yes. Rottenborn, when was the last time you spoke with Mr. Waldman on the phone? Kate, I don't recall. Have you spoken with him on the phone in 2022? Kate, no. Have you had conversations with Mr. Waldman about this case or about the UK litigation? So Camille, objection compound. Rottenborn, you can answer, Miss James, and you should answer all my questions unless your attorney instructs you not to, regardless of any objections that are lodged. Kate, can you answer the question? Ask me the question again. Have you discussed this case or the UK litigation with Mr. Waldman? Kate, yes, I discussed the UK case with Mr. Waldman. And what did you discuss about the UK case with Mr. Waldman? Kate, I don't recall details. No details whatsoever that you recall. Kate, nope. Did Mr. Waldman assist you in preparing your witness statement for the UK litigation? Kate, nope. Miss James, you can go ahead and answer however you want, okay? Did you? Camille, I'm sure the court reporter very much appreciates your professionalism, Mr. Rottenborn. Mr. Rottenborn, did Mr. Waldman assist you with drafting your witness statement in the UK litigation? Kate, no. Did you exchange drafts? Kate, excuse me, you just asked me that question and I said no. Did you exchange drafts of those statements with Mr. Waldman? Kate, no. Who did you send those drafts to? Kate, Shillings. Is every word in those witness statements words that you drafted? Kate, yes. Did anyone provide edits to those witness statements for your consideration? Kate, I'm very good at my own editing, I can assure you. That didn't answer my question. Did anyone else provide edits to those witness statements? Kate, no. Question, for your consideration? Kate, and I'm telling you right now, if you keep talking aggressively towards me, I'm going to have to take a recess because I'm already a survivor of violence and abuse, okay? So please, take your tone down because I don't respond well to that. It doesn't work for me, okay? So I'm going to have to take a recess if you don't stop being so aggressive. I don't like it. Rottenborn, Miss James, I don't believe I'm being aggressive. Kate, I do, and you're making me feel uncomfortable, and I won't tolerate being spoken to that way. Well, I'm sorry for making you feel uncomfortable, but I'm going to have to ask you questions today, and I'm going to ask you to answer those questions truthfully, okay? Kate, if you can do it in a more pleasant and polite manner, thank you. Straight out of the gate, she's pissed. Ben, have you spoken with Ben Chu before? Kate, no. Have you spoken with any other of Depp's attorneys other than Mr. Waldman or Miss Vasquez? Kate, no. When was the first time you spoke with Mr. Waldman? Kate, I don't recall. Give me an approximate year, please. Kate, I don't recall. Was it before 2018? Kate, nope. Was it before 2020? Kate, nope. Have you met Mr. Waldman in person? Kate, nope. When was the last time you spoke with Mr. Depp? Kate, I don't recall. Now, you've spoken with Mr. Depp since he and Amber got divorced, correct? Kate, correct. And when was the last time you spoke with him? Kate, I don't recall. Was it within the past year? Kate, nope. Have you exchanged text messages with Mr. Depp in the past? Kate, what am I answering? Camille just said it's vague as to time. I'd like you to ask more specifically, please. Question, in a day prior to today, have you exchanged text messages with Mr. Depp? Kate, yes. When was the last time, approximately, that you exchanged text messages with Mr. Depp? Kate, I would say 2016. Yeah, I think 2016, but it's a long time ago. Now you're represented by Mr. Ruga today, correct? Kate, yes. How long has he been your attorney? Kate, approximately 2 months. Do you know who's paying Mr. Ruga's fees? Kate, yes, I do. Who? Camille, I think we're going to object. This violates the attorney-client privilege. Mr. Ruga, I don't know if you're planning to lodge that objection as instruct the witness not to answer. I object on attorney-client privilege, and it also invades my client's right to privacy and the California Constitution. Rottenborn, so on those bases, Miss James, are you refusing to answer the question? I just need to make sure that the record is clear. Kate, yep. When was the last time you spoke with Amber Heard? Kate, I don't recall. Was it shortly after your appointment with her ended in 2015? Kate, nope. Was it after that? Kate, nope. Have you spoken with her to the best of your recollection or communicated with her in any way in the past, say, 5 years? Kate, nope. When you were hired by Miss Heard? Kate, 2012. How did you meet her? Kate, my sister put an ad through, a recruitment system I used in my field. Take me through the chronology of, let me ask it this way. Would you describe your work for Miss Heard as a personal assistant? Is that what you call your job title? That question made no sense, but Kate got it. She said yes. When did you first start working as a personal assistant? Kate, in 1999. For how many people have you served as a personal assistant? Kate, maybe 6. Since you left Miss Heard's employment in 2015, for how many people have you served as a personal assistant? Kate, 1. That's the same person I work for to this day. I've been with them for 6.5 years. And who is that? Kate, I'm not at liberty to disclose that information to you. Why not? Kate, it's confidential. Have you had any other jobs since? Mr. Rottenborn. And just for the record, I'll move on, but we disagree with the witness's refusal to answer that question and reserve all rights, but we'll move for now. Miss James, have you had any other jobs since, other than this personal assistant job that you left Miss Heard's employment? Kate, no. Have you worked for Miss Heard? Now, you work for Miss Heard. Was it part-time or full-time? Kate, it started out as part-time and became full-time. When did you change from part-time to full-time? Kate, I don't recall. What was your job duties? Kate, too many to mention. Give me your best summary of what your job duties were, please. Kate, is this relevant? Mr. Ruga, you should answer the questions unless I tell you not to. Kate, okay, so let's see. If you're ready for a really, really long time of me explaining all of the details, that's fine. It's everything you could possibly do to run someone's life, okay? So it's grocery shopping, it is taking care of admin, it's running errands, it is getting the car fixed, it's getting dogs groomed, it's picking up flowers, it's dealing with the decorator, it's dealing with the housekeeper. It's going on and on and on and on, and it goes on every single day. Arranging travel, dealing with all of the surplus staff around the travel, booking all of the court reporter couldn't pick it up, dealing with the change of travel, okay, liaisoning with people that she's working on films, updating her calendar accordingly, liaising with people on the set every single day to update her calendar to ensure that she knows what scenes she's doing each day, what her call time is. Every day it's something different. And it's a lot. It's a myriad. It's a myriad of things that go across the board daily. Rottenborn, you were paid for that work, correct? Kate, very poorly. What were you paid? Was it $1,500 a week to start? Was that what it was? Kate, are you kidding? I wish. My God, no, it was not. She paid me $25 an hour to start off with, and she finally agreed after screaming abuse at me that she would pay me $50,000 a year once I went to full time. And this was after me working for well over 10 years as a personal assistant. So it was very insulting to me, but I did it anyways because I had grandfathered in the ability to pick up my son from school and bring him to work with me at 3 o'clock. And that flexibility to pick up your son from school was very important to you, correct? Kate, yes. You had the flexibility to pick up your son from school while working for Miss Heard? Kate, that was grandfathered into the agreement right from the first interview. Right, and that was very important to you to have that ability to do that, right? Kate, I'm a single mom, so yeah, I'm not going to leave my kid at a hot playground for hours. And Miss Heard granted you that ability to do that, right? Kate, I wouldn't have taken the job unless we were agreed to that. And you could have left Miss Heard's employment at any time, correct? Kate, yes. You were based in LA when you were providing personal assistant service to Miss Heard, right? Kate, I've always lived in Los Angeles since 1999. So you didn't travel with Miss Heard when she was out of town, correct? Kate, that was another part of the agreement, that I wouldn't travel with her because of my child. And she was out of town quite a bit, right? Kate, not really. Not really. How many weeks a year would you estimate Miss Heard was out of town while you were working for her? Kate, well, you're talking almost 10 years ago, so I can't tell you quite honestly. Well, when she was out of town, you wouldn't see. You never traveled with her, right? Kate, no. How much did you see Mr. Depp over the course of the employment with Miss Heard? Kate, regularly. How many times? Obviously, you didn't see him when he was out of town, right? Kate, no. When he was in town, would you see him daily, weekly, monthly? What would you estimate? Kate, there was no rhyme or reason to answer that question. Now, you never witnessed any violence between Miss Heard and Mr. Depp, right? Kate, no. And Miss Heard never told you that she had been violent to Mr. Depp, correct? Kate, no. Miss Heard did tell you that Mr. Depp had been violent toward her, though, correct? Camille, objection assumes facts and not evidence. Rottenborn, you can answer. Mr. Ruga, she did. She said no. Rottenborn, you had knowledge that Miss Heard and Mr. Depp had arguments, correct? Kate, no. Miss Heard never told you that she and Mr. Depp had arguments. Kate, occasionally she sent a text message complaining about her mental state, but it was never clear exactly what was going on. Rottenborn, so you never... Kate, it was, I remember she would text me complaining about her mental state, and that was about it. I don't have any of her text messages, so it's hard to remember. When you say, and I'm sorry I cut you off there, I thought you were done. When you said complaining about her mental state, what do you recall her saying? Kate, just that. I don't know how to elaborate on it. You never witnessed any arguments between Miss Heard and Mr. Depp, correct? Kate, didn't you already ask me that question? I think so, but I wasn't sure. So, Kate, yeah. Just to make sure we have a clear record. Now, Miss Heard told you that at least one point that she wanted to leave Mr. Depp, correct? Kate, I don't recall. Can the court reporter, or I'm sorry, Lucien, can you please pull up the exhibit? Okay, showing exhibit 1. And Miss James, any document I show you today, feel free to read as much of it as you want. If you need control of the screen to blow it up, feel free. Okay, so these are text messages between Amber and you, or are these text messages from Amber to you? Kate, I guess so. And when she says, I have to leave JD, he's just freaked out on me. He's drinking again. It's bad, worse than ever. I need out. Do you see that? Kate, yeah. Do you remember her providing you any more detail about what she was referring to in that text? Camille, objection calls for speculation, calls for hearsay, and assumes facts, lack of evidence. Kate, so what's the question? Rottenborn, do you remember her giving you any more detail about what she was referring to there? Kate, nah. Did she tell you that Mr. Depp had been violent to her on a flight from Boston to Los Angeles? Camille, objection, lack of foundation, assumes facts, calls for hearsay. Kate, I don't recall. Did you ever hear about an incident between Amber and Johnny on a flight from Boston to Los Angeles around this time? Camille, objection, vague. Mr. Ruga, objection, vague. Assumes facts. Rottenborn, do you need me to ask the question again, Miss James? Kate, yeah, because everyone is saying they're objecting, and I don't really know what to do. Rottenborn, fair enough, let me try it again. Do you recall hearing anything about an alleged incident between Amber and Johnny on a flight from Boston to LA around this time frame? Mr. Ruga, objection, same objection. Kate, like I said, I remember that day very well. Rottenborn, and I want to, Mr. Ruga, sorry, he's asking if you know anything about some incident between Amber and Johnny. Kate, yeah, because I know what the next text messages are. They're going to show me. Mr. Ruga, he's just recalling he's asking whether you recall Amber telling you about some incident between her and Johnny on a flight, yes or no? Kate, yes. Mr. Rottenborn, Kate, allegations? I do, yes. Question. And so to follow up on that, I'm not asking just about what Amber may have told you. I'm just trying to drill down generally to what you may have heard, whether from Amber or Johnny or anyone about that flight. Does that make sense? So can you tell us, what do you remember hearing about that flight, or what happened or didn't happen on that flight from Boston till LA? Camille, objection, vague, calls for hearsay. Kate, I don't know. Sitting here today, you don't remember anything that you heard about that. Kate, I don't know. I wasn't on the plane. I just know what happened afterwards, okay? When she asked me to come meet her at her shuttle. Mr. Ruga, he's not asking about afterwards. He's asking if anyone told you about what happened on the plane. Kate, and I already answered that question. Mr. Ruga, okay. She said no. Rottenborn, do you recall receiving this text from Miss Heard? Kate, vaguely. I mean, it is, 8 years ago? And I don't have this phone or device anymore, so you know. Mr. Ruga, you answered his question? Kate, yeah. Rottenborn, I'm not asking if you have photographic memory. You're doing fine. I'm asking if you remember receiving this text, and you said vaguely. So my next question is, do you remember having a conversation with Amber or anyone else about what you meant by strike that? Do you remember asking Amber why she felt she had to leave Johnny Depp? Kate, no, because there was a lot of ongoing, drama on her behalf in regards to the relationship. So I started to not think much of it, if you can imagine. Do you believe Amber was just being dramatic when she sent you this text? Kate, I don't know. Do you believe that she was not being truthful when she said that Johnny had freaked out on her and that he's drinking again? Kate, I don't know. Did you think to ask her if she was okay? Kate, I don't know. I probably did, because that's my role to play as a caregiver. That's all I can imagine. So what do you remember about this day that you alluded to earlier? Kate, mostly my surprise that they went to the Chateau Marmont, because Amber had an apartment of her own in West Hollywood that was completely set up and available to her. So that was my biggest confusion, that why would she go to the chateau? And then she asked me to get her bathing suit. I remember that. So I had to go to her apartment to get her bathing suit, which again, seems strange to me. And then, was also seems strange, is that I got there, she had a bunch of friends with her, and originally I thought she was alone. When you refer to Amber's apartment, are you referring to the apartment on Orange Avenue? Kate, yeah. And isn't it true that Mr. Depp would spend time in that apartment with Amber from time to time, correct? Kate, well, I don't really know what the question is in relation to, but he wasn't there at the time, if that's what you're referring to. Rottenborn, yeah, no, that's not my question. My question was just over the course of your employment, you have knowledge of Mr. Depp spending time at that Orange Avenue apartment. Kate, they spent time there, and at his residence, they would go to different residences as well. Rottenborn, Lucian, can you bring up the next one? Exhibit 2. Miss James, I'm just going to go ahead and take a moment and read this text exchange and let me know when you're done, please. Kate, do you need me to scroll down or? She doesn't know how to use a remote. Okay, we got there. So, question. Miss James, is this the text exchange between you and Amber on May 24th, 2014? Kate, yes. And do you recall that the hotel that she's at, that she was at the Chateau Marmont? Kate, yep. And do you see where she said, where it says you asked her to take a lorazepam? Do you see that? Kate, yeah. Why is that? Kate, because she was crying. And when she says, crying my eyes out, you asked her, what hotel, are you okay? Do you see that? Kate, yes. What, if anything, do you recall her telling you about whether or not she was okay? Kate, all I recall is that she asked me to go get her swimsuit. Were you concerned about Miss Heard and her well-being on this day? Kate, nope, because it did become a pattern with her, so I was merely placating her, I would say, and especially when I saw she was with about 4 or 5 girlfriends and basically having fun, enjoying down by the pool, that's why she needed her swimsuit. And then they proceeded to hang out and drinking while I sat around waiting with my son. Actually, I think it was a Sunday that, if I remember, we had to wait all day and while they just hung around drinking by the pool. And then finally I went home and finally she went back to her apartment and then she wanted me to go back and pack her bag for her at about 10 o'clock at night on Sunday. And then I said I couldn't go. By that point, I had already spent the whole day sitting there. So I said I couldn't go and pack her bag because I had already put my son to bed. And she was very angry about that. I remember that. Okay, so when you asked her if she was okay, you didn't actually care if she was okay. You just said you were placating her, right? Kate, it was a standard procedure at this point. She's a very dramatic person. So you didn't actually think that there was anything that Amber was actually upset, correct? Kate, as I said, it just didn't make sense that she went to the chateau instead of going home. That was the first red flag to me that day, So you came to the conclusion that day that she actually wasn't upset? Is that what you're saying? Kate, it's too much. I already answered once. What I'm asking is, did you come to the conclusion that there was nothing wrong with Miss Heard that day and she wasn't actually upset? Kate, I don't know how to answer. I mean, it's such a strange question. Like I said, you already asked me and I already answered. I'm asking you to answer it again. I don't think I asked the exact same question, but do your best, please. Kate, could you ask me the question in a different way or a clearer way that is not exactly the same as the last question you asked me? Did you reach the conclusion that day that Miss Heard hadn't experienced anything traumatic? Kate, over the course of the day, I observed Miss Heard enjoying the company of her friends for several hours. That's all I have to say on the matter. And would it be odd for someone who has experienced trauma to want to be around friends to you? Kate, I don't know. So in any event, you said you sat around the chateau, is that right? Kate, yeah, while she was deciding what to do. Now, you're being paid for that time, correct? Kate, not overtime. It was a Sunday. I was not being paid, no. Did you avail yourself of anything at the hotel? Like, did you order any food? Kate, no. Did you? Kate, I might have ordered some food for my son, actually, to be honest, now that I think about it, because he was little at the time. I think he was, 5 or something, so I might have ordered food for my son. I'm not a big eater. Food is not a huge priority for me. Would you have put that on Miss Heard's tab that day? Kate, everything was on Depp's tab that day, so no. On Johnny's tab. Kate, yes. Do you recall that? What else, if anything, do you recall? Well, actually, let's bring up the document entitled or ends in 6151. So they pull up Exhibit 3. And Miss James, same deal here. If you can just scroll down, it's only a page and a half. Text exchange between you and Amber on May 25th while she was at the chateau. Kate, yes. And do you see where you asked her, are you okay? Kate, yes. And she said, no, I'm so sad. Kate, yeah. Did you, upon receiving that, did you have any concern that she had experienced something traumatic? Kate, nope. When she wrote, I love you, and you wrote, love you too, hun, won't be long, was that just placating Miss Heard? Kate, friendly text exchange in my role of work. Were you trying to be supportive at all or just placating her? Kate, it would be both, I guess. Did you have any concern whatsoever about Miss Heard's well-being that day? Kate, nope. Now, that wasn't, the May 2014 time period wasn't the first time that Miss Heard had told you that something had transpired between her and Johnny, correct? Kate, no, that's not correct. And when I say something, I mean something negative. Camille, vague, Rottenborn. When is the first, and he's like, fair enough, Camille. Rottenborn, when was the first time that you remember Miss Heard telling you that all wasn't right in the relationship between her and Mr. Depp? Kate, I don't recall exactly when it started, but it would have been usually her complaining and crying due to, I would say, insecurities within the relationship more than anything else. She would be very, very insecure a lot of the time, and she would call me up crying. I remember one time she called me when she was alone in New York City and she was crying, walking along the street crying, and he wasn't there. She was alone. But I said she needed to go inside because I was worried that the paparazzi might take a photo of her, and she was in a very disgruntled state. And so, just out of kindness, I said to her, it's better if she went inside rather than walking around crying in public. I remember that, but I don't remember exactly when that was. It might have been 2012, 2013. As the job went on, we called each other less and less and did mostly text messaging. It was all the text messaging we did. Did you ever believe that Mr. Depp mistreated her? Kate, nah. So, and why not? Kate, just never had any evidence of it at all. I was there almost daily at both her place and then eventually at his place and ultimately at the lofts downtown. It was a daily basis experience, morning, noon, night, all days of the week. So, never once saw any evidence of anything. Did Miss Heard ever tell you that Johnny had hit her? Kate, nope. Did she ever tell you that Johnny had pulled her hair or pushed her? Kate, nah. And because you never saw what you would say is evidence of mistreatment of Amber by Johnny, that was why you believed that when you would get texts like this from Amber, that she was just making it up. Is that right? Kate, can you ask me that question again? Rottenborn, let me ask it a little bit differently. You never believed Miss Heard that Mr. Depp had mistreated her. Is that correct? Kate, at that time or after, I never believed in what context you were talking about. During my employment or afterwards? During your employment. Kate, no, never. And there was never any damage to the apartment that I witnessed. There was never any aftermath of anything ever that I ever saw. Now, you, of course, have no personal knowledge one way or the other, whether Johnny was abusive to her, correct? Kate, well, I don't know if that's necessarily true, because if it was true, I would have seen the damage, even if it wasn't physically present in the moment of those alleged arguments. And what's your basis for that statement? Kate, well, if someone is being, the court reporter couldn't catch it, based on generally physical evidence. So your testimony is that if there was no physical evidence that you observed, then it couldn't have happened. The DV by Johnny towards Amber, is that your testimony? Camille, objection, argumentative, mischaracterizes prior testimony. Mr. Ruga joined in. Kate, nope. Rottenborn, well, I'm trying to understand what your testimony is. Maybe you could clarify for me, Miss James. Is your testimony that you never saw firsthand evidence of Johnny being violent to Amber that it couldn't have happened? Camille, that's not what I said. You're trying to put words in my mouth. I don't appreciate that. Well, actually, I'm trying to understand what you said. So if you could help me out and clarify, that would be great. Kate, it's written in my witness statement. I never saw any evidence of any physical violence or abuse, and I'm not going to repeat that again. Mr. Rottenborn, okay? So we're not flogging horses here, all right? Rottenborn, move to strike that commentary. If you can pull up, actually, you don't have to pull up anything right now. Rottenborn, how many text exchanges do you recall having with Mr. Depp? Camille, Camille, objection, vague as to time. Kate, a minimal amount, maximum 5, I would say. Rottenborn, have you ever, since you left Miss Heard's employment, have you ever talked to Mr. Depp on the telephone? Kate, yes. What do you recall about that telephone conversations? Kate, it was only one time. It was in 2016, so I don't recall the details. What, if anything, do you recall about that conversation? Kate, nothing. Did you call him or did he call you? Kate, I don't recall. Do you recall any other, well, let me ask this. Do you recall any other telephone conversation with Mr. Depp since 2016? Kate, nope. When was the last time you saw him? Kate, I don't recall. Was it after 2016? Kate, no. Can you pull up a document 4? Okay. And Miss James, I'll direct your attention to the box at the bottom. Do you see your name, Kate, in the column labeled recipients? Kate, yeah. Is this a text message that you received from Mr. Depp or on and around August 13th, 2016? Kate, yes. And it appears that he's responding to something that you had sent him, correct? Kate, I don't know. Do you see where it says, thank you, sweetheart? Kate, yes. He's directing that to you, right? Kate, it looks like there's someone else CC'd on this text, so it could be to that person. I honestly don't know. I cannot answer your question. Okay, do you see where it says, we'll hit you when you get back, doll. Come over for a spot of purple and we'll fix her flabby ass nice and good. Kate, yeah. Come over for a spot of purple means come over for a drink of wine, right? Kate, I don't know. That's what you understood it to mean, correct? Kate, I don't know. They pull up. Okay, Lucien, can you pull up the documents labeled UK trial day 7? James, testimony, please. Oh, shit. Okay. They look asking for a break. They said another 5 minutes. Okay. Miss James, you remember giving testimony in the UK trial, right? Kate, well, there would be something wrong with me if I didn't. And in that, when you gave that testimony, you gave it under oath, correct? Kate, yes. Lucien, can you please go to page 39 of the PDF? And then on line 7, Miss James, am I reading this right? When you were asked the question and he is inviting you over for a spot of purple, what is that? Yes is your answer. Question, what did you understand? And your answer, red wine, I imagine. Do you see that? Kate, yeah, I do remember that. Do you remember giving that testimony? Kate, yeah. So is it your understanding that Mr. Depp was inviting you over for wine at some point after he split up with Miss Heard? Kate, and just speculation. Rottenborn, did you go? Did you meet up with Mr. Depp for red wine about the time period of this text on August 13th, 2016? Kate, I did meet up with him, but we did not drink wine. No. Was anyone else present for that meeting? Kate, no. And then Rottenborn, you can take that down, Lucien. And if we can pull up prior document, please. When he said, come over for a spot of purple and we'll fix her flabby ass, you understood him to referring to Miss Heard when he said, we'll fix her flabby ass, correct? Kate, it wasn't for me to speculate what he was referring to. I'm not asking for you to speculate what he was referring to. I'm asking for your understanding was that he was talking about Miss Heard, correct? Kate, there isn't an answer. I mean, this is the way he rocks. He's very random and you don't sit and question. You just don't sit and question it, okay? It's just the way he rocks in very abstract ways. Okay, then we're putting up prior testimony. Miss James, isn't it true that on line 12 of page 1221, you were asked the question, red wine, and not only to come over for a spot of purple, but to fix her flabby ass? Was that about Miss Heard, was it not? And on line 14, you answered, yes, yes. Do you see that? Kate, yes, So did you understand this to be referring to Miss Heard, correct? Kate, no. I'm sorry, you said no? Kate, I'm just trying to be agreeable in the court, having no clue what on earth is going on. So there you go. I don't know who. Was that answer in court truthful or just agreeable? Kate, just being agreeable. So it wasn't truthful. Kate, I don't have an answer for you, Mr. Rottenborn. What did you and Mr. Depp talk about at that meeting that you recall? Kate, I don't recall details. Just tell me generally everything you recall. Kate, it's too long ago, Mr. Rottenborn. I don't recall. Do you recall anything? Kate, nah. Where was the meeting? Kate, at his residence in West Hollywood. What time of day? Kate, around 3 p.m. So you recall the time of day, but you don't recall anything you discussed. Kate, no, I'm just saying I know it was in the afternoon because it was after I picked up my son from school because my son went to swim in the pool with the security guards watching him while I went and had a brief conversation with Mr. Depp. That's the only reason I remember that time. Did you talk about Miss Heard? Kate, yep. What did you discuss about Miss Heard? Kate, like I said, I don't recall the details. Well, I'm just a little confused because you just testified you didn't remember anything, but now you remember that you did talk about Miss Heard. So what I'm trying to get is everything you remember about the conversation. Kate, well, you've got to understand, Mr. Rottenborn, the mutual connection between Mr. Depp and myself is in fact Miss Heard. So inevitably, that is going to be part of the conversation. That's all I remember, okay? Do you remember anything else about that conversation with Mr. Depp? Kate, no. Have you seen Mr. Depp since that conversation? Kate, no. Rottenborn, I think it's probably a good time for a break. So they took a break and then they're back. Miss James, has Mr. Depp ever paid you anything? Kate, no. Now, just describe generally your educational background, please. Kate, I completed high school and then I went straight into becoming a veterinary nurse when I left the school, which I did for approximately 3 to 4 years before I left Australia. Do you have any sort of specialized training in veterinary medicine or nursing? Kate, only on-the-ground experience. I was 4 years in a clinic. So you don't have any experience with medical training for humans, right? Kate, nope. And you don't have any training in healthcare, correct? Kate, could you be more specific? You don't have any training in healthcare for people, correct? Kate, I don't know. I'm not a human nurse. If that's your question, I don't really understand your question. You don't have any, Mr. Ruga, belated objection. The question is vague. Sorry, go ahead. Rottenborn, you don't have any training related to prescription drugs, do you? Kate, no. And do you have, Kate, actually, excuse me, only pertaining to animals. Yes, I would like to add that. Okay. And that was the training that you received on the job in Australia before you came to the US. Kate, among other things, yeah. You have no basis to believe that, well, strike that, you're familiar with Miss Heard taking prescriptions for Accutane and Provigil, among other things, correct? Kate, yes. Rottenborn, and on this note, I'll just designate, as we've done, Camille, I'll designate this transcript confidential, and there's a period of time and mechanism. Okay. Rottenborn, you were never served as a nurse or a doctor to Miss Heard, right? Kate, no. And you have no medical knowledge to testify whether Miss Heard used Provigil or Accutane in the way her doctors instructed, correct? Kate, no. And you're not an expert on the interaction of prescription drugs and alcohol or other drugs, correct? Kate, no. Did you, during the course of your employment, develop any personal knowledge of Mr. Depp's use of alcohol and drugs? Kate, not firsthand. And what did you mean by not firsthand? Kate, well, I worked for Amber. I didn't work for him. Did you ever see Mr. Depp using illegal drugs? Kate, no. Did you ever see Mr. Depp abuse alcohol? Kate, no. Can you recall Miss Heard ever talking about Mr. Depp becoming angry or jealous over movies that she was made with other actors? Kate, no. Did Miss Heard ever express to you that Johnny could lose it if he learned of her doing scenes with other actors? Kate, no. I just remember one email that she asked me not to disclose some one-liners on one occasion. I don't remember any more details about that, but I don't remember that. Kate, that's all. I wasn't elaborated on. Rottenborn, let me show you what might be the email you're referring to. Okay, they pull up the email. Kate, yes, this is the one I'm referring to when she was doing a movie with James Franco, and I believe there was some tension there. Rottenborn, when you say tension, do you mean there was tension between Johnny and James Franco? Kate, I don't know. It was a broad term that I can only use in that way. Did you understand Amber to be asking you not to share this out of fears that Johnny would be angry that she was doing scenes with James Franco? Kate, yeah, it's not for me to question it. If I'm given instructions, I just read the email and follow the instructions and move on to the next task. Did you ever perceive or develop firsthand knowledge of Johnny Depp being angry or jealous about roles that Miss Heard took with another actor? And I apologize if I've already asked this. Kate, no. Did you become aware of Mr. Depp needing to go to rehab for drug addiction? Kate, I was aware when Dr. Kipper came around. There was what it was in relation to, however, I was not fully aware of any details pertaining to that. Were you ever present for any rehab attempt that Johnny made to your knowledge? Kate, no. Did you ever speak with Dr. Kipper? Kate, no. Did you ever speak with Aaron Borum? Kate, yes. And Aaron was a nurse who worked for Dr. Kipper, right? Kate, she was assigned to Amber. That's how I came to be speaking with her. And she also provided medical services to Johnny, right? Kate, I don't know. What do you recall speaking to Aaron Broom about? Kate, just random chit-chat in the course of the day, nothing specific. Did you ever speak with Mr. Broom about Mr. Depp's drug or alcohol abuse? Kate, no. Did you ever talk, sorry for interrupting you, did you ever speak with Ms. Broom about any harm that Amber was allegedly suffering at the hands of Mr. Depp? Kate, no. They're pulling up another exhibit. Exhibit number 7. And Miss James, just go ahead and read that as much of it as you want. Just let me know when you're ready for me to ask you the question. Kate, can you scroll down? Yeah, I mean, I have no recollection of any of this. I do remember that Aaron went to Myrtle Beach, but Mr. Ruga, he hasn't asked you a question yet. Kate, okay. Rottenborn, go ahead and scroll back up to the top, please. So with that, and your counsel is right to tell you I haven't asked a question, but I think you anticipated where I was going to go. What do you remember at all about the events referred to in this email exchange? And then I'll ask you specific. Kate, nothing. Nothing. Do you recall what the purpose for the trip to Myrtle Beach was? Kate, Amber was working in Myrtle Beach at Magic Mike XXL. That's all I remember. There might have been a picture of Aaron walking around with Amber there, but that's all I remember. I don't remember any of this. Was Trudy Selvin a travel agent? Kate, yes. Do you see up at the top where you emailed Trudy? I know you spoke to Aaron about it. It's horrible. Kate, yes. Do you recall what you were referring to as horrible? Kate, I just told you I don't recall any of this email exchange whatsoever. Is there anything that you can think of that might refresh your recollection about what you're referring to when you said it's horrible? Kate, I already said I don't recall any of this email exchange. I don't have any answers for you. There's no answer. I don't have an answer. All I know is Amber did Magic Mike XXL in Savannah in Myrtle Beach. I was going to say Savannah, Georgia, but I think that's the same place. And Savannah McMillan, we were in there as her assistant and worked with her on the film. I remember that much. I remember. Do you hear that, Homeland Security? Savannah was her assistant. I'm going to keep repeating that till Homeland Security actually hears me. Okay. Mr. Ruga, he's not asking about any of that. Kate, I know, I'm trying. I'm going through my brain to try to help him, but unfortunately I can't. Mr. Ruga, okay, he's just asking whether you remember what you meant by. Kate, no, okay, so leave it at that. I was just confused with repeatedly asking me, so you know. Rottenborn, and I appreciate that, Miss James. I know it's hard to sometimes remember things years later. I was asking if there is anything that might help you remember what it meant, but if the line answer is no, then it's no. Kate, no, I mean, the answer is no. Do you recall anything specific that was happening in the relationship between Amber and Johnny in November 2014? Camille, vague, speculation, assumes facts, lack of foundation. Kate, as I mentioned, all I know is that she went to do the film at the time. That's all I know. Okay, now they're pulling up another one. Exhibit number 8. So, Ms. James, obviously you can take as long as you want with this entire exchange. It's kind of a long exchange about a lot of different things, but I'm going to direct your attention to the last 2 pages. So the page that's labeled 6202, Rottenborn. And while he's doing that, are these text messages between you and Amber? Kate, unfortunately, I can't read them yet because they are so small and I don't know where they start. One thing I can see is it just says ASST. So there's a chance it's not me in possession of that phone. Maybe it was Savannah because Savannah went to work on that movie with her. I might have given her the assistant's phone, so I need to read it to see if any of this sounds or seems familiar to me. So just give me a minute, please. Once again, Homeland Security. Savannah was her assistant. Rottenborn. Yeah, okay, sounds good. We can just start at the top if you'd like. Kate, yeah. I mean, with all of the stuff she's asking, I don't think Savannah is capable of that. So it probably was me. Although I don't remember much of this. It was just the part about daily on, court reporter couldn't catch it, sort of texts on any given day or week or month. Rottenborn, do you find these texts to be abusive? Kate, these are not abusive, no. Rottenborn, can you take a look at the bottom of page 6193? And I just want to see if you remember any of this, Miss James. Kate, but I'd like to go back and read the whole lot, please. Kate, you're scrolling too fast. Kate, no, I've already seen. I'm sorry. If I know how to scroll myself, that would be unfortunate. They're going off the record because they're trying to sort out the scrolly thing. They're back on the record. Miss James, could you please scroll up to the page ending in 6193, please? It's maybe 3 or 4 from the top. Thank you. Do you see where You ask about the middle of the page. First of all, I think we established this on the record, but these appear to be text messages between you and Amber. Kate, yes. And just above where I can see, it says, you text Amber, do you need anything from the store, babe? I'm getting bleach. And she responds, no, thank you, and new heart. Do you see that? Kate, yes. And below, that's where you say, aw, I'm sad for you too. I feel you. What were you sad for her there? Do you recall? Kate, I don't recall. She was off having drama. It was a constant drama. Were you actually sad for her, or is this just another example of you placating her? Kate, it's my role as a personal assistant to be supportive and kind. That's my role. I understand that, and I guess what I'm asking you is, did you believe that her sadness was unfounded, or was there genuine empathy in your statement? I'm sad for you too? Kate, I don't recall. Do you see beneath that it says, I want to leave town, just get away? Kate, yes. Do you recall any of the reasons why Amber was conveying to you that she wanted to leave town? Kate, no, I don't. Do you recall Amber saying anything to you about anything that had happened between her and Johnny that was making her upset around this time? Kate, no. If she had told you something, if she had told you something, would you have believed it? Kate, yeah, I don't have an answer to that question. Because oftentimes you didn't believe things that Amber told you about the relationship between her and Johnny? Kate, that's a leading question. I'm not willing to answer that. Rottenborn, can you please scroll down to the last 2 pages of this document, starting with 6202, please? Just below that, up a little bit. The bottom half, please. Okay, Miss James, do you see at the bottom of that text where Amber writes, can you plan my day? I can't think of anything. I can't stop crying. And you say, of course, love, I'm here for you. Do you see that? Kate, yeah. And then if you scroll down to the next page where you ask, are you okay, right? Kate, yeah, uh-huh. And then you write, as long as you're okay, let me know if you need anything. XO. Kate, yeah. And she writes, love you. And you respond, love you. Everything will be all right. Is that right? Kate, yeah. Do you recall what was causing Amber to be upset on November 13th, 2014 when these texts were sent? Kate, no, I have no idea. I don't even know who Matt is, who she's referring up to above there. No idea. And is this the case that when you were telling her, as long as you're okay, and then love you, everything will be all right, that was just trying to placate Amber? You didn't actually care if she was going to be all right, right? Kate, it's the nature of my work to be supportive and kind to my client. And notwithstanding what you wrote, you didn't actually care if she was okay, correct? Kate, yeah, I already answered that question. And the answer to that question is, you said, it's the nature of my work, so I'd like to just explore that a little bit more and apologize for asking the same question again, but is it fair to say that you didn't care whether Miss Heard was okay in the text exchange on November 13th, 2014? Kate, and if you read the entire text, you'll see I'm actually sort of busy with the tax assigned, so yeah, kind of busy in that moment, not thinking about anything much about how to get my tax done as quickly as possible. They're looking for Exhibit 9. Now, this is an email exchange between Amber and Dr. Kipper CCing you on August 27th, 2014, correct? Kate, yes, looks like he's just basic changing of schedule request. Kate, I don't remember the email, but what I'm trying to say is the scheduling request, and it's coming at 3:05 a.m. So yeah, I don't remember this email. Rottenborn, you don't have any reason to dispute that wouldn't be CC'd on this email, correct? Kate, I can read that apparently I was, but I have zero recollection of this email. So do you have recollection of Amber expressing concern or being troubled by Johnny not coming home that night? Kate, no. Do you remember Amber ever expressing concern about that? Kate, no. Do you remember Amber expressing concern about being in the same house as Johnny? Kate, no. Do you remember Amber ever asking you to intercede or contact Dr. Kipper or his staff relating to Johnny's behavior? Kate, and you've already asked me previously about my interactions with Dr. Kipper, and I already told you I had none, so there's no need to ask again. Miss James, with respect, I'm the one asking the questions today, and my question wasn't, did you have the communication? It was, do you remember Amber asking you to have communication with Dr. Kipper or his staff about Johnny's behavior? Kate, and my answer, I told you I've never spoken to Dr. Kipper. Rottenborn, and that's not my question. My question is, did Amber ever ask you to speak to Dr. Kipper or his staff? Kate, no. Then they pull up Exhibit 10. Kate, I don't remember this email at all. Is this an email from Amber to you on August 25th, 2014? Kate, is there evidence it was actually sent? Oh, good question. Rottenborn, does this appear to be an email from Amber to you on August 25th, 2014? Kate, I see the email. Do you ever recall, does this email jog your memory or allow you to recall any additional facts about Amber asking you to contact Dr. Kipper or his staff? Kate, nah. When Amber writes, you can be honest with them, do you recall what she was referring to them or about being able to be honest with Kipper or Debbie about? Kate, nope. Do you recall ever forming any concern in your own mind about any of Mr. Depp's behavior in his relationship with Amber? Kate, never. Nothing you heard, nothing you witnessed, nothing you saw during your time with, I'm assuming it was Amber, ever gave you an inkling of or concern about Mr. Depp's behavior towards Amber? Kate, never. Now, you left your employment or your employment with Amber ended in early 2015, correct? Kate, just after they came back from the wedding on the island. Now, you drank quite a bit of alcohol during your employment with Amber, didn't you? Mr. Ruga, objection, vague, argumentative, lacks foundation. Camille joined in, harassment. Rottenborn, what's your answer? Rottenborn, there was a time when you couldn't fulfill your job responsibilities because you were drunk? Kate, that's absolutely untrue. I'm a mother. I need to drive my child to school and pick him up from school. So don't you dare ever accuse me of such a thing. That is offensive. I'm going to take a break. Yeah, I'd be pretty offended of that too. Rottenborn, well, I'm not going off the record. Mr. Ruga, why don't we go off the record? Take a 5-minute break. We'll be back. Camille, yeah, I agree. Videographer, all in agreement to go off the record? Rottenborn, I'm not in agreement to go off the record. I mean, videographer, I'm required to stay on the record. Rottenborn, I have the right to ask the witness questions. I have the basis for my questions, and the witness just shuts the computer down. If Mr. Ruga, if you want to talk to me for a minute and we can discuss with you. I'm willing to consider going off the record, but otherwise, I'm not willing to go off the record. Videographer, Mr. Rottenborn, just so you know, when she closed her computer, it logged her out of this meeting. I'll stay on the record as long as you like, but when we get back into this, I'll have to make sure I've got my shot set up. Miss James, can you hear me? Yeah, she's back. Okay. Rottenborn, thank you. I'd like the record to reflect the witness slammed her computer screen and screamed shut and took a unilateral break just now. So anytime that's a lapse of record, I don't believe shouldn't count against our time. Rottenborn, Miss James, I have to ask you some questions, and I don't want to make this any more uncomfortable than I have to, but I have to ask them. Did you ever consume alcohol while you were on the job for Miss Heard? Kate, only in social settings. Did you ever become intoxicated while drinking alcohol on the job with Miss Heard? Kate, nope. Did you ever drink to the point where you were no longer able to, for a period of time, to carry out your job responsibilities for Miss Heard? Mr. Ruga, she said no. Rottenborn, did you ever pass out from drinking while you were on the job with Miss Heard? Kate, nope. When you say you consumed alcohol in social settings while on the job for Miss Heard, what specific social settings do you recall? Kate, Amber had a Christmas party one year. There was that. There was a couple of movie premieres and an after party at Mr. Depp's house. That was about it, I would say. Just random things like that. Rottenborn, I'm sorry I missed that last part. What did you say? Kate, a few random occasions like that. And is it your testimony that you never became inebriated or intoxicated while consuming alcohol during these social settings? Mr. Ruga, Ben, I don't know what you're asking. I mean, if you have one drink, technically you are intoxicated or inebriated. I don't know where the line is between having a drink and becoming inebriated or intoxicated. You need to be a little bit more clear. Rottenborn, did you ever get drunk drinking in the social settings while you were on the job with Miss Heard? Kate, nope. Camille, asked and answered. Rottenborn, did Miss Heard terminate your employment? Kate, when Miss Heard came back from the island, she informed me that she now needed to support her mother because her mother could no longer work after her diagnosis, her medical diagnosis, and she told me she could no longer afford to pay me since she had to support her mother, and therefore she would have to terminate my employment to support her family. Rottenborn, and did you resent Miss Heard for that, for terminating your employment? Kate, I would have been asked to have been given some notice so I had time to look around, so I was a little upset for the lack of notice, but apart from that, no, I was not upset. Miss Heard gave you 6 weeks severance pay, correct? Kate, I don't recall. Do you recall whether she gave you any sort of payment after termination of your employment? Kate, I don't recall. Did you want to stay in the job for Miss Heard? Kate, well, I did ask if I could have a few months heads up so I could seek another job that would suit the terms of my employment, but she did not allow that. And that made you angry, correct? Kate, no. Did you ask to be put on Mr. Depp's payroll so you could remain being paid by Miss Heard or Mr. Depp? Kate, well, when she said she couldn't afford it, I said, now you're married, couldn't I go onto Depp's payroll? And she said no. It was part of a legal agreement they had that she was not allowed to do that. I don't know whether that was true or not. We've seen no sign of that legal agreement. Okay. Question. Did you ever ask Mr. Depp whether you could go on his payroll? Kate, no. Isn't it true that you asked to live in one of Mr. Depp's houses rent-free for a period of time after your employment? Kate, well, you see, I'm a homeowner, but I want to be clear. I didn't want to miss a mortgage payment due to unemployment. So my idea is perhaps I could find an alternate accommodation in order to rent out my house so I don't lose my entire property. I'm a homeowner. Keeping my home and my payments up to date is paramount importance to me. Rottenborn, isn't it true that you had already skipped about 1.5 years of mortgage payments on your home during the time you were employed by Miss Heard? Kate, no. Mr. Rottenborn, let's pull up the document ending Okay, so Exhibit 11. Mr. Rottenborn, and I'll direct your attention, Miss James. There's some duplication in the email exchange here, but if you start with 5861 at the end and you go to 5858, that captures everything that's in this email exchange, including what's in the first 3 pages. Kate, yes, I didn't pay my mortgage in 2008. Mr. Ruga, there's no question pending. Kate, yeah, but I'm just saying because he got it wrong. He's saying that I didn't pay it when I was working for her. That's not true. I was paying my mortgage. Mr. Ruga, there's no question pending here. You need to wait for him to ask a question. Rottenborn, move to strike. Kate, seems like it's repeating over and over again. It's repeating again down at the bottom. Is that right? Rottenborn, yeah, I think I can. I think you've read everything. So if you're ready for me to ask you questions, my first question just is that an email exchange between you and Amber relating to the termination of your employment. Okay, yeah, this is the email that I received when she terminated me. And then the emails above in the document some of which are duplicated, are an email exchange that you had with Amber after you received the termination email. Kate, yeah, when I woke up that morning, yep. Can you go to the first page, please, at the top of the document? Kate, Isn't it true that Miss Heard did pay you 6 extra weeks of pay after your termination? Kate, she's stating that, but I don't recall if it actually ever happened or not. You don't have personal knowledge one way or the other or recollection of whether she did? Kate, no. And isn't it true that you do tell her in this email that you didn't pay your mortgage for the first 1.5 years that you were working for her? Kate, yes, I had one of those balloon mortgages, so I had to go through a loan modification, and I recall now that's why I was able to agree to work for her for such a small amount of money from what I normally made. It was a sort of a favor almost. What was the favor? Kate, to work for her for like my usual paycheck, basically, for like half of my usual paycheck, basically. So you were doing Amber a favor. Kate, yes, because initially it was described as part-time, 20-hour week thing with flexibility and blah, blah, blah. So, I thought it's not really in my caliber, but my son was only 4 at the time, so it seemed like a good idea, especially because I wasn't paying my mortgage, so I could take the hit by getting less pay than I would normally make. And that way I could also have the time with my son that I wanted. Question. And I think the answer to this is no, but I just want to be clear. You're not blaming Amber for your not paying your mortgage, right? Kate, no, that was my choice. It was the only way I could get a loan modification. But the 2008 crash, that's how it worked back then, if you wanted to save property. And you started working for Amber in 2012, right? Kate, yep, it took a long time for the loan modification process. And you're not blaming Amber for getting credit cards with 29% interest, are you? Kate, what? Do you see in your email on the first page about 2/3 of the way down, you say, I borrowed from my mom my tenant security deposit, and now I have used up a credit card I shouldn't have used, and it has 29% interest. Kate, no, that's my choice. Did you have tenants in your property at that time? Kate, I have a duplex. I'm just trying. In that time, yes, I had tenants in one house, and I was living in the other. And did you use those tenant security deposit for personal expenses? Kate, I don't remember. Do you see where you say I had borrowed from my mom my tenant security deposit? Do you recall using your tenant security deposit or borrowing from that? Kate, it's too long ago for me to recall if it actually happened. Would there be a reason that you would have said that if it wasn't true? Kate, no. And isn't it true that you did ask to live rent-free in one of Johnny's houses after you were terminated, right? Kate, lots of people did. And isn't it true that you did? Kate, yes. And did it ever come to pass? Kate, no. Did it make you angry that it didn't happen? Kate, no. Is it fair to say at that time your employment was terminated, you were in fairly significant financial trouble, correct? Kate, yes. And you were angry with Amber for terminating you at the time when you were in financial trouble, correct? Kate, no. See at the bottom of your email on page 2, you say Max and I love you very much as a sign off to your email? Kate, yes. And Max is your son, right? Kate, yes. That wasn't true, correct? In fact, you didn't love Amber. You didn't like Amber, did you? Kate, any close relationship has ebbs and flows in the energy that you feel towards one another. It's pretty standard. And at that point in time, well, since your termination, you've had nothing but animosity towards Miss Heard, correct? Kate, no. I actually bumped into her at the P.O. box about 3 months after, and she was in her Range Rover, and I saw her sister, and she said, come say hi to Amber. And I went back there, and I was going to say hi, but she was on the phone, and she was saying, wait, but then I had to go. That's the only time I've seen her. But I wanted to go and say hi. I wasn't feeling like I wanted to avoid her or anything. You know, things happen in life, goes on, you know. And since that time, 3 months after the termination, so now you've developed a significant amount of animosity towards Amber, correct? Kate, that's not what I just said to you. As I said I went to say hi to her at the post office. Rottenborn, right. That's my question. Since you went to say hi to her at the post office to the present, you've developed a significant animosity towards Amber, correct? Kate, no. Have you seen Amber since that day at the post office? Kate, no. Have you communicated with her in any way? Kate, no. Rottenborn, Miss James, I don't have any further questions for you at this time. I may subject to any questions that Mr. Depp's counsel or counsel may ask, but nothing further from me right now, so I appreciate your time. She says, awesome. And then Camille starts the questioning. Camille, Miss James, I don't need to know who you work for, but I would like to know, did you work for Mr. Depp? Kate, no. Did Mr. Depp refer you to your current employer? Kate, no. I understand you're a personal assistant, Miss James. What type of people do you work for? Kate, high-profile celebrities. Are they celebrities in the entertainment industry? Kate, yes. You previously testified that in March of 2012 you worked as a personal assistant for Miss Heard, yes? Kate, yes. In total, how long did you work for Miss Heard as a personal assistant? Kate, almost 3 years. And in the time you were hired in March of 2012, had you ever heard of Miss Heard? Kate, nope. You previously testified today that at some point while working for Miss Heard, you transitioned from working part-time to full-time, is that right? Kate, yes, When did that transition happen? Kate, I don't recall specifically. Do you think it happened within the first year of your employment? Mr. Ruga, objection leading. Kate, I believe it happened within around 6 months into the employment. Camille, so most definitely it happened in the first year of your employment, is that correct? Kate, yes. You previously testified that you stopped working for Miss Heard as her personal assistant in February 2015, is that right? Kate, yes. And you also testified that Miss Heard let you go upon her return from the Bahamas in February of 2015, yes? Kate, yes. Did Miss Heard ever give you any indication or warning that your employment might end upon her marriage to Mr. Depp? Kate, no. How did it make you feel when Miss Heard terminated your employment without warning? Kate, bit of a shock, a bit of a feeling of being blindsided. When you first began working for Miss Heard and when Miss Heard was in town, in other words, not traveling, how many times per week would you see her? Kate, almost daily. And did that exchange when you became full-time personal assistant for Miss Heard? Kate, no. Would you see Miss Heard on the weekends as well? Kate, yes. And when you would see Miss Heard in person, did you coordinate with her when you would be seeing her? Kate, no. I would arrive whenever it was necessary to bring stuff that I had picked up on errands or whatnot. There was no given schedule. And when you say would arrive, where would you arrive to? Kate, it depended where she was at the time. Sometimes she was at Orange, sometimes she was at one of Johnny's houses on Switzer, then eventually they all moved downtown to the lofts. You previously testified that your work as being Miss Heard's private assistant was extensive. Would you please tell us everything that you were responsible for? Kate, everything from handling all of her dry cleaning, picking up packages, mail, liaisoning with agents, other people in the industry, coordinating travel, making restaurant reservations, dealing with the staff, the vendors on the property, that sort of thing. Did Miss Heard ever ask you to monitor press for her? Kate, yes. What specifically did she ask you to do? Kate, I had a newsstand guy that was instructed to hold 2 copies of every magazine she appeared in. It was a newsstand on Schoenberg Avenue, just off of La Hacienda. I can't say that word. I'm sorry. And he would hold them for me, and I would go approximately once a week to pick up whatever magazines Amber was featured in, 2 copies of each, which I could then store in her garage. Camille, why would you store them in Miss Heard's garage? Kate, because she didn't want Mr. Depp to see them. Did she tell you why she didn't want Mr. Depp to see them? Kate, no, she just got very angry with me one day because I hadn't quite made it downstairs to put them in the garage when she came home, and she went absolutely ballistic over that. When you say she went absolutely ballistic over that, can you please describe what you mean? Kate, screaming, yelling, abuse. Do you remember what she said to you? Kate, no. But it was abusive in your opinion. Kate, blind rage. Over the 3-year period in which you worked for Miss Heard, were you ever with Miss Heard when she was getting dressed or undressing? Kate, all the time. How often were you present when Miss Heard was getting dressed? Kate, every time she was getting dressed for a fitting, I would say 90% of the time I was there. And just to clarify, was it just when Miss Heard was in fittings that you would see her in a stage of undress? Kate, no, it was also in her apartment. She had no issue with walking around naked quite often. Camille, did you ever observe Miss Heard putting on makeup? Kate, yes. How often did you see Miss Heard doing her makeup? Kate, just when she was getting ready to go out somewhere for a party or something. And when you interacted with Miss Heard, and I understand that it was quite frequent and regular, did it appear to you that she was wearing makeup? Kate, she usually never wore makeup unless she was going to a special event. And when she did go to special events, would you describe her makeup as heavy? Kate, it would depend. It would depend if it was a professional makeup artist would do it or if she would do it herself. If she did it herself, it would be light and usually adding lashes, and that's about it. Camille, and I believe you previously testified to this, so I'm sorry for asking you again, but while you worked for Miss Heard, did you ever see any types of injuries on her? Kate, nope. Did you ever see any cuts? Kate, nope. Bruises? Kate, nope. Did you see any swelling? Kate, nope. Redness in her face? Kate, nope. How about Miss Heard having black eyes? Kate, never. Broken nose? Kate, never. Missing hair clumps? Kate, never. Did you ever see Miss Heard cry? Kate, yes. How often did you see her cry? Kate, hard to put a number on it. Sometimes she would cry on the phone. I think at least once or twice she might have cried on the phone, And then as far as seeing personally crying, she's a pretty dramatic person. It's hard to really put a number on it. Camille, I'm focusing on whether you saw her in person crying. How many times do you believe that you saw her in person crying? Kate, I would say twice, maybe twice. Do you recall why Miss Heard was crying when you saw her crying? Twice. Kate, it was usually when she was in a space of deep insecurity and she was very worried about the stability of her relationship. Camille, let's take that down in bite-sized pieces. The first time you saw Miss Heard cry in person, do you recall what she was crying about? Kate, insecure emotions. So the 2 times that you recall Miss Heard crying in front of you, you remember her crying about being insecure, is that correct? Kate, yes. You testified that she felt insecure about her relationship, is that correct? Kate, yes. Can you expand on that? What do you mean by that? Kate, she didn't like being away from his physical presence, and in my opinion, she smothered. She just did not want him to be away from her. I think she felt like if he went away for too long, he might not come back, or she felt he might not come back. She was very insecure in the relationship, I felt. Did Miss Heard tell you that she felt insecure when Mr. Depp wouldn't be present with her? Kate, yep. Do you recall Miss Heard telling you anything about her relationship with Mr. Depp? Oh, that's a fair objection, but okay. So, other than telling you she felt insecure about her relationship with Mr. Depp, what else did Miss Heard say about feeling insecure? Kate, she told me she didn't like hanging out in his house with his friends because it was boring and they're all old men playing guitars and it wasn't interesting to her. Oh, Camille, was Miss Heard dating Mr. Depp when you first started working for her? Kate, yes. When did you first learn that Miss Heard was dating Mr. Depp? Kate, about after a month, I think. How did you learn she was dating Mr. Depp? Kate, she told me. What did she tell you? Kate, she told me she was dating Johnny Depp. Do you recall the first time you met Mr. Depp? Kate, yes. When was that? Kate, it was in her apartment on Orange, probably shortly after she told me she was dating him, and she was standing in the dining room. Oh, and dating him and was standing in the dining room. Camille, approximately when was that? Kate, I don't remember. I would say April of May 2020. What was your impression of Mr. Depp? Rottenborn, objection, vague. Kate, he was very peaceful, very calm, almost shy, very quiet. And I remember he was wearing red suede shoes because I didn't know what else to look at, so I looked at his shoes. It's a weird recollection, I know. I was being honest. Camille, did you ever witness Mr. Depp be rude to anyone? Kate, he's such a gentleman. He's like a total Southern gentleman, so no. Did you ever see Mr. Depp lose his cool? Kate, nope. Did you ever see him scream at anyone? Kate, nope. Did you ever see him break something? Kate, only in a video. Camille, and I'll rephrase, in your presence, did you ever see Mr. Depp break something intentionally? Kate, never break anything, never throw anything, always completely passive. Camille, and I believe you testified previously, but you have a son, correct? Kate, yes. How old was your son when you first started working for Miss Heard? Kate, 4 years old. And did you ever bring your son to work with you? Kate, yes. How often? Kate, quite often. If I had to keep working, I would bring him back there after school. And if I had to work on the weekends, he would come with me then. Mr. Depp, did Mr. Depp ever interact with your son? Kate, yes, he was very kind. How often did Mr. Depp interact with your son? Kate, whenever we were in each other's presence. Can you give me an estimate on how often that happened? Kate, oh, countless times. He would even teach him how to play guitar. He brought him back something on vacations. Oh, he would bring him back gifts on vacations. He showed him his amazing makeup, his makeup makeover when he was doing Black Mass. He tricked him and went over saying, "Do you know who I am?" with full makeup. And my son almost hit the ground. It was really cute, actually. He gave my son a little pick as well, a guitar pick, which he cherishes to this day as well. Fair to say you were around Mr. Depp and Miss Heard quite a lot. Kate, yeah. It became increasingly more as the time went on, yeah. What is your impression of Miss Heard and Mr. Depp's relationship? Kate, it did not seem like a perfect relationship to me based on a lot of insecurity on her behalf, which seemed to cause confusion in the relationship. Maybe the age gap was an issue because of their interests. I know that much. Apart from that, who am I to know what their relationship, Camille, did you think that Mr. Depp was smothering of Miss Heard? Kate, oh no. Did it appear to you that Mr. Depp was jealous of Miss Heard? Kate, nope. Did you ever have interactions with Mr. Depp by yourself? Kate, sometimes, yeah. And what were those interactions like? Kate, just friendly chit-chat, which would stop immediately when Amber saw me speaking to him. She would give me the evil eye, and I would know to just stop. I would just quickly walk away. Did Amber ever talk to you about your interactions with Mr. Depp? Kate, no. In 3 years that you worked for Miss Heard, did you ever see Miss Heard and Mr. Depp argue? Kate, no. In the 3 years you worked for Miss Heard, did you ever see any physical violence between Miss Heard and Mr. Depp? Kate, never. Did you ever see either of them being physically aggressive with one another? Kate, nope. Did you ever see any property damage at Miss Heard's home? Kate, never. Did you ever see any property damage at Mr. Depp's primary residence on Sweetser? Kate, never. Did you ever see any property damage at the lofts or the penthouse at the Eastern Columbia building? Kate, nope, never. Over the 3-year period in which you worked for Miss Heard, did you ever hear from anyone that Mr. Depp or Miss Heard had been in a physical altercation? Kate, nope. Over the 3-year period in which you worked for Miss Heard, did you ever see Miss Heard be physically aggressive with anyone? Kate, nope. Over the 3-year period you worked for Miss Heard, did you ever observe her being verbally abusive to anyone? Kate, well, she was verbally abusive to me regularly, and she was also verbally abusive towards her sister and her mother. And yeah, that's the people I witnessed personally. Camille, let's break that down a bit. When you say she was verbally abusive to you regularly, can you explain to me how she was verbally abusive to you? Kate, screaming over the phone. She screamed at me once in person, multiple times screaming at me over the phone, barrages of abusive text messages day and night, in the middle of the night. I think you're aware. I think between 2 and 4 a.m., the barrage would start, and that's when I'd wake up too, all incoherent, not really making any sense, just basically someone to lash out at, no apparent reason to it. What did you observe? Strike that. You testified previously that you observed Miss Heard be verbally abusive to her sister? Kate, yep. And what do you recall about that? Kate, it was an ongoing the dog kind of relationship with her sister, so it's really hard to pinpoint any specifics, but yeah, her poor sister was treated like a dog that you can kick, basically. Same question as to her mother. Okay, so Camille, you previously testified that you observed Miss Heard be verbally abusive to her mother. Kate, What specifically did you observe? Kate, well, there's a video online where you see her being abusive first and foremost, so it's not even based on what I'm telling you. It's what I've seen, the interactions between the two of them when her mother was still alive, and the fact that her mother was terrified of her. Did her mother tell you she was terrified of her? Kate, she personally told me she was terrified of her. Camille, what did she tell you? Kate, just what I told you. We were in the bedroom. She was getting ready for something, and she was just so scared of Amber putting into, she couldn't catch it, something wrong. She was just in fear of the inevitable tongue lashing that would occur, that sort of thing. Camille, did you ever witness Miss Heard tongue lashing her mother? Kate, here and there, yes, especially when it was a building up to a stressful event or something like that, yeah. You said you felt that Miss Heard was verbally abusive to you. Can you provide me with any specific example of this behavior? Kate, I thought I did earlier, but yeah, it was so random and ongoing. You would never know when it was going to come left to center. I do remember on one occasion when we were moving from part to full time, and then the salary negotiation became a real bone of contention. And I specifically remember standing in her office where she leapt out of her chair, put her face approximately 4 inches from my face, and she was spitting in my face and telling me how dare I ask for the salary I was asking for, which was, in fact, approximately half of my regular annual salary. What I was offering her was a favor, and she felt that she could go for the right to spit in my face. And then there was a witness in the apartment at that time, by the way. Camille, who was in the apartment at that time? Kate, the handyman, Hector. He was so mortified. He was so embarrassed to hear her speaking to me like that. Camille, what did Mr. Hector say to you after Miss Heard screamed to you? Kate, go ahead, Miss James. Kate, see, this is the problem with the constant objections, and I'm losing my train of thought, especially if you don't stop chastising me. It's not going to work. Mr. Rottenborn, so please, stop chastising me. I'm sorry if I'm not an expert at doing depositions. I'm sorry if you want to object to every single question Camille is asking me, but please, refrain from chastising me. I don't respond well to that, and I'm a PTS survivor. I don't deal well with it. I've already told you this earlier in this deposition, so please tone it down, or it doesn't work for me, okay? And here's the thing. They are dealing with an abuse situation. So you'd think Rottenborn would be a little bit kinder to fuck me. Anyway. Rottenborn, I'm going to make the objection I need to make. And just as Miss Vasquez asked you, I'm just asking for a little bit of time between when she asked her question and when you answer. My objections have nothing to do with your answers. They're to do with her questions or making a record for trial. So I'm going to continue to make objections. And I'm sorry if that bothers you, but I have to do that. Kate, well, just keep your tone pleasant. Thank you. Camille, may I have my question read back? Can I have their question read again? Because after all this, I have no idea what you just asked me. Okay, Camille, Miss James, while you worked for Miss Heard, did you ever observe her drinking alcohol? Kate, yes, I did. How often do you observe Miss Heard drinking alcohol? Kate, I don't recall. What alcohol did you observe Miss Heard drinking in your presence? Kate, red wine. Did Miss Heard ever appear intoxicated to you? Kate, yeah, she often did. While you worked for Miss Heard, were you aware of what, if any, prescription drugs she was taking? Kate, yes, because I had to pick it up, and I was often had to deliver it to her. Kate, you anticipated. I'm sorry, Miss James. I interrupted your question, or your answer, excuse me. The last part of your answer was to, Kate, it was my job to pick it up and deliver it to her. Also bring it to her if she was doing a photo shoot, or, on set or something if she had forgotten it. What prescription drugs do you remember picking up from Miss Heard? Kate, Provigil. Any other prescription drugs that you remember picking up from Miss Heard? Kate, Accutane. Any others? Kate, not specifically. To your knowledge, did Miss Heard ever stop taking Provigil or Accutane while you were working for her? Kate, nope. Did Miss Heard ever tell you that she was experiencing any side effects from Provigil? Kate, she didn't say it, but I observed it. Camille, we'll go back to that in a minute, but did Miss Heard ever tell you that she was experiencing any side effects from Accutane? Kate, no. You previously testified that you observed Ms. Heard having certain side effects from Provigil, yes? Kate, yes. What side effects did you observe Ms. Heard exhibiting? Kate, manic episodes. Can you tell me what you meant by manic episodes? Kate, similar to if someone was on sort of amphetamine drug, moving very fast or not making a lot of sense, hyper-organizing, hyper-tasking, just very, very hyper. Yeah. Besides prescribed medications, did you ever observe Ms. Heard ingest any illicit drugs while you were working for her? Kate, no. Did Ms. Heard ever tell you that she had ingested illegal drugs? Kate, yes. When did Ms. Heard tell you that she had ingested illegal drugs? Kate, sporadically here and there. What drugs did Ms. Heard tell you she had ingested? Kate, mushrooms, ecstasy, and whitey stuff. If you remember how many times Ms. Heard tell you that she had ingested illegal drugs? Kate, I can't remember. Based on your personal observation, did it ever appear to you that Ms. Heard was under the influence of illegal drugs? Kate, yes. How many times? Kate, I don't know. Less than 5? Kate, so long ago, it's hard for me to remember. Why did it appear to you that Ms. Heard was under the influence of illegal drugs? Kate, disoriented, partying with friends, lots of heavy drinking, laughing, dancing, playing all sorts of things that go hand in hand with imbibing in drugs. Would Ms. Heard treatment of you change when she was intoxicated? Kate, yes. Camille, how so? Kate, she became more and more belligerent and abusive. Miss James, do you know who Savannah McMillan is? Homeland Security, are you listening? Kate, yes. Who is she? Kate, she was hired by production in the UK when Amber went to work in London Fields. She became Amber's set PO on that show, and Amber brought her to America to continue working with her on other sets because I was not able to travel with her, so she decided she would use Savannah for that purpose while I took care of business in Los Angeles. So Savannah proceeded to work on 3 movies in the United States of America: Magic Mike XXL, One More Time, and The Adderall Diaries. She worked on all 3 of those films. Camille, did she work for Miss Heard on those 3 films? Kate, yeah, as her assistant. And how do you know that? Kate, well, I was liaisoning with production because my duty was to update Amber's calendar daily and put all the calendar entries for day-to-day, one-liners, whatever her schedule is for that day, whatever scene she had to shoot for that day. So daily, I would liaise with the second AD who would provide me with, what the shots were going to be for the next day. So I would update Amber's calendar accordingly. So I was in touch every single day remotely with each one of those productions. To your knowledge, do you know how long Savannah worked for Miss Heard? Kate, on and off for several years. I don't know exactly when she was on and when she was off, but on and off for several years. Did Miss Heard ever ask you to pay Savannah McMillan? Kate, yes. How many times? Kate, I don't recall. To your knowledge, how much did Miss Heard pay Miss McMillan? Kate, it would be impossible for me to answer because sometimes Amber paid her herself or sometimes she would ask me to find her checkbook and arrange her payment that way. What was your understanding of why Miss Heard was paying Miss McMillan? Kate, because she needed a set PA and she liked her for that purpose. Miss James, you previously testified that you provided testimony in a matter involving Mr. Depp of the United Kingdom. Do you remember that testimony? Kate, yeah. And how did you provide that testimony in the UK? Kate, well, I wrote a witness statement and then I had to do a live video feed. And did you understand that your witness statement was made under oath? Kate, yes. And did you understand that your testimony during the trial was also under oath? Kate, yes. Did anyone help you write your witness statement? Kate, Schillings over in the UK helped me with the first draft, and then I took over and completely edited it to be my own words. That was after a phone conversation we had. I jotted down notes, sent me some basic notes to work with, and then I worked on it from there. How long did it take you to write your witness statement? Kate, about 3 or 4 days. Did you feel you had an adequate amount of time to prepare and write your witness statements? Kate, yes. I was very proud with the outcome of what I wrote, of how I wrote it, because it was all my words and it was the absolute truth. And did you have enough time to review your witness statement for accuracy before you signed it? Kate, yes. Was everything that was in your witness statement true and accurate to the best of your knowledge? Kate, yes. And is that still true today? Kate, yes. Jumping all over the places, but bringing you back to 2015, there came a time when Miss Heard wanting you to bring her dogs to Australia, right? Kate, well, What happened was we had taken them to the UK and I was speaking to so-and-so, Pet Travel, and she heard my Australian accent. And she said, I hope they never go to Australia. And I said, well, I think I heard they might be going to Australia at some point for the next Pirates movie. And she said, oh my God, you better get going on this. It takes 6 months. So I notified Kevin Murphy and we started the procedure right away with, not knowing exactly when they were going, but realizing that it was a long process, so pertinent to get going with it. So yes, Kevin and I started the process together with a professional pet travel company at that time. And I believe that was around October 2014, September, October 2014. Camille, did you explain to Ms. Heard the process by which she needed to go through to get the dogs to Australia? Kate, as much as she was willing to listen, which she really didn't care to listen much about the details of such things. Camille, to your knowledge, was Miss Heard aware that the plans to take the dogs to Australia would be illegal? Oh, the plans to take the dogs to Australia would be illegal. Kate, I was already no longer in the employ when the dogs were traveling. However, Kevin Murphy had informed Amber multiple times, both verbally and by email, to let her know that the dogs could not travel, so she was fully aware. Camille, Lucia, I'm going to pull up Exhibit 4. Miss James, do you remember receiving an email from Miss Heard on or about February 12, 2015? Kate, I don't even believe I was still working for her on that date. Camille, do you remember receiving this email in particular from February 12, 2015? Kate, again, I don't. As far as I know, I wasn't even working for her at that time, so I wouldn't even know if she wrote this letter to me, honestly. Do you remember receiving this email then? Kate, nope. Okay, can we please pull up exhibit number 5? Miss James, the way these emails tend to work is that they start at the bottom and then go up. But this one is no exception. So I'm going to, for your ease, I'm going to have you read the bottom email first. It's the first one in the chain, dated February 3rd, 2015. Kate, looks like she was traveling straight to London after the wedding. That's what I'm reading. Do you remember, actually, you know what? Why don't you read the entire email chain? And I'm going to ask you some questions about it. Camille, do you remember receiving these emails from Miss Heard? Kate, not really. Nope. Do you see where Miss Heard on February 4th, 2015 writes in all caps, are there no direct flights, ? Exclamation. Do you see where it says Miss Heard writes to you, are there no direct flights in all caps? Kate, yes. Would you agree with me that there's nowhere else in this email chain Miss Heard uses all caps just to write to you, correct? Kate, no, it does not. She seems very confused. When I'm reading through this, she just seems to be very confused. And the thing is, if that question were to be directed to anyone, it should have been to the travel agent, not me. I mean, I'm not the travel agent. The travel agent was down there in the beginning, Trudy Salvin. Directing your attention, Miss James, to May of 2014, when you met Miss Heard at the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles, California. Do you remember your testimony about that incident? You testified previously that Miss Heard asked you to bring a bathing suit to the hotel. Is that correct? Kate, yep. Did you see Miss Heard wearing a bathing suit in May of 2014 at the Chateau Marmont? Kate, yep. Based on your recollection, did you see any bruises on Miss Heard's body? Kate, nope. Did you see any red marks on Miss Heard's body? Kate, nope. How would you describe the general atmosphere or mood of Miss Heard and her friends at the Chateau Marmont? Kate, to be honest, it seemed a little conspiratorial to me. Camille, how so? Kate, like a strategy meeting or something, and combined with a pool party. It's hard to describe. It was very confusing. Originally, I thought I was going over for some major emergency, but then something else completely different was going on that day. Camille, what made you think something completely different was going on that day? Kate, well, because originally it made it seem like she was having this major emergency and she was completely alone and she needed me very badly to come as quickly as possible. But when I got there, she was surrounded by people, Savannah, Io, Rocky, Raquel. Did you observe Miss Heard showing what appeared to be injuries to any of her friends at the chateau that day? Kate, no. Did it appear to you that Miss Heard's friends were comforting her? Kate, no. How would you describe Miss Heard's friends' behavior? Kate, friends hanging out together by the pool, having cocktails and spending the entire afternoon hanging around together. Okay, why don't we go off the record if that's okay? They go off the record. And now they're back. Miss James, I have no further questions for you. I just want to thank you very much for taking the time today to testify, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Okay, thank you, Miss Vasquez. I hope you enjoy the long weekend. Rottenborn. I have a few before we get off the record. I just have a few follow-ups, but it won't take too long. Rottenborn, did you, Miss James, ever, and I'm sorry if we touched on this earlier, did Amber ever tell you that Johnny was entering into sort of rehab or recovery program for substance abuse? Kate, no. Did you ever learn information that made you believe that one of the reasons that the relationship between Johnny and Amber wasn't, as you described, perfect was because of Johnny's substance abuse? Kate, I couldn't speculate on the details of their personal relationship. Did you testify earlier that one of the reasons you thought their relationship wasn't perfect was insecurity on Amber's part, though, right? Kate, yes. So you developed an opinion that insecurity on Amber's part affected their relationship, but did you not develop an opinion that substance abuse or any actions by Johnny affected their relationship? Is that right? Kate, that statement was based on communications directly to me from Amber, basically. What communication specifically? Kate, expressing, exactly what I just stated, that she was sad, she didn't want to be away from him, blah, 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 that sort of thing. It would happen all the time. And you believe that those statements were the reason that the relationship wasn't perfect? Kate, not for me to speculate. Can you please pull up a document? What fucking document was it? Exhibit 12. Miss James, feel free to take the time you need to look through this. My first question is this a text exchange between you and Amber? Kate, looks like it. And do you remember we've been talking about some events, including the Chateau Marmont and other events in late May of 2014? Kate, yes. Do you see at the top where she texts you, okay, thank you, me too. I scared him straight, starting recovery program now? Kate, What did you understand starting recovery program now to mean? Kate, I didn't think anything of it. That means Johnny's starting a rehab or recovery program for substance abuse, doesn't it? Kate, I can't see the rest of the document, please. Kate, so you see there, she's asking me for all kinds of things in this. Mr. Ruga, there's not a question. Kate, yeah, but what I see in the text. Mr. Ruga, no, there's no question pending. Wait for him to ask a question. And her answer was, who knows? Rottenborn, all right, you can pull that off the screen. Would you agree, I assume, Ms. James, that someone who's simply being, strike that, would you agree that simply being insecure in a relationship doesn't strike that? Would you agree that just because someone is insecure in a relationship does not mean she deserves to be abused, correct? Kate, I have no answer for you on that. Would you agree that even if someone acts, quote, unquote, smothering in a relationship, it doesn't mean she deserves to be abused, correct? Kate, I don't have an answer for you for that. I don't have any further questions, and thank you for your time today. And they're done, and they are off the record. Ooh. Oh, man. Poor Kate. And she was put through the ringer by Amber. Kate, none too pleased from the aftermath of what happened, but very interesting about Savannah. You know what? Let's revisit that Savannah debacle. Because, we need to relook at that, because this woman has to take punishment for something. I'm sorry. Perjury in 2 fucking countries, the dogs, Australia didn't do anything. Someone needs to make this woman accountable for her actions. Okay, we're going to take a look at that next. I love you guys. Have a great day. I appreciate you. Take care.